All right, everybody, and welcome to episode 245 of the 9 Years podcast. I am Nick Draper. I am joined, as always, with the face of the BBC Sport website, Mr. Stuart Deakins, and I have overthought the intro to the show this week because I said I'm joined with, but I meant to say I'm joined by. My grammar has gone on holiday, which is not good because we're back from half term, so it should be back in this week a bit. Never mind. I say we're back after half term. Remote learning, you know, it's not quite the same. Never mind. Anyway, thank you very much for downloading the show this week, whether you've done so on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, on YouTube, Google Podcasts as well that we're on, or if you're listening through 9yrspodcast.org. We're going to be reviewing the week's football basically this week, nice and straightforward. The defeat to Peterborough and the win over Gillingham in the week before we look ahead to the game with Hull City, which is not taking place on Tuesday. It is indeed on Saturday, and we'll look at the relegation battle in League One as well. But Stu, to begin with, I want to talk about Mark Robinson and coaching structure at the club. An interview with Mark and Joe Palmer was put on the official website in the week, talking about how the football staff is going to look under the new head coach and their thoughts on how that setup will work moving forward, to use a business term, which I don't like to use. And it's an interesting interview in the terms of we're thinking about an assistant manager or assistant head coach, but I'm not sure we are going to have one. It sounds like we're going to bring in people as and when we need them, be it on a full-time or a part-time basis for particular set roles. Have I understood that correctly, in your opinion?
No, I think that's what it is. I think so. Robbo's been honest and said it's not a good time of the season to be looking for somebody because the people that he's interested in are in jobs, which is good in a way, because if they're in jobs, it means that they're employable. So you're obviously doing something right, aren't they? But I think if you look at Robbo's academy background, this is where it's coming in. I suppose it's like development, isn't it? So Robbo, it's interesting how you look at it, because Robbo developed the under 18s, and if you look at it, he's coming in to develop the first team. It's the same principle, just with people that are older, and you can already see the influence that he's had. So I think he said he got a set piece coach, and I think they were working at throw-ins. So I think he's just looking at all the elements, and I actually like that, because football is a simple game. But I've said to you before, isn't it? If you look at the goals from restarts, so you look at corners, free kicks, throw-ins, heavy percentage. And if you look at some of our restarts, crikey, our short corners, our throw-ons to the pigget to flick it on to nobody because he can't win it. It's not his game. So I really liked it, and it's refreshing, but it also isn't. It's not a point fix. But you can. I don't know. I'm not too sure you watched the game on Tuesday night against Gillingham, but you can see little changes, and I think that's what you'll see for the rest of the season.
When he talks about specialist skills, are we talking things like, for example, defensive coaches? I'm thinking with a nod to probably about 25 years ago when, was it Mark Lawrenson was brought in at Newcastle to be a defensive coach, and it was all widely mocked at the time, but actually it sounds like Newcastle were ahead of the times. Yeah,
you're right, actually. I remember that.
Yeah, because like Keegan or Dalglish, one or the other.
Possibly. It would have been a Liverpool connection, wouldn't it? But it was one of those things, wasn't it, that like they're the pundits, and back in the day there wasn't Sky and all that sort of stuff, and Mark Lawrenson and Alan Hansen. But yeah, you're right. I think it does sometimes. I think and that's why you see it now. If you go to an academy or you go to a top Premiership club, their backroom staff is ridiculous. You could probably have a coach on their own travelling to games. So Robbo's obviously learned things, and he's obviously got. He's a very switched on person. He's obviously got a plan. He hasn't. If you think about it, he went in on the first week after the defeat at home to them with a plan. So you can sort of see that this isn't something he just put together. He's obviously in his head gone, if I get the opportunity, this is what I want to do. And he went straight away and done it. So, yeah, fair play to him.
He also talked about in the interview, like you say there, I don't think he used this phrasing. It's the phrasing I've used on the script. Yes, we do script it, ladies and gentlemen, would you believe? A one-club approach with a style of play.
Yeah.
Is that something that we've already seen implemented? What is that style of play? What does he actually mean when he says that? Does it mean that we're all going to have from under nines to first team all playing the same way? Does it encompass the ladies team? I don't know. What did you take that to mean?
Great question, because you could interpret, couldn't you? I look at Barcelona more than a club. That sort of motto, isn't it? Where if you look at Barcelona, they involve basketball and all that sort of, and they wear the same colours, and they all play the same way because it's different sports. I don't know. One club to me would be, I think we should involve the ladies, the academy. I think there should be a style of play. I don't know whether you could implement that in with the ladies. I'm being honest with you, but it's a different game. Still got a round ball, but you know what I mean. It's a different game in terms of it's not on pace. It's a lot more of a technical ability and stuff like that. But I think the one club I've said to you many times before, we don't like that club up north, but they play the academy. They play the same football the whole way through. So the style of play is the same. So when they get into that first team, they're comfortable. And if you listen to interviews with Jack Redoni and stuff like that, he sort of said that in a way. He goes, I know what Robbo expects of me. I know what he wants to do. I know how he wants to play. So he's in his element because he knows what Robbo, he knows what Robbo expects from him in the academy place. So it's nothing new for him. And I think that's what you need. If we're going to go with this youth policy, which I think is right, they can't be coming in playing passing football in the under 18s and then going into a long ball format in the first team, because that's not their strengths. And you can look at Ali Hargan. He was an attacking midfielder in the under 18s. He went into a defensive midfielder in the first team. That's not why he progressed. So I think it's going to be a one club for Robbo. I think will be same style, tactics, mentality, all that.
Talk about that club up north. You obviously referring to Watford. Is a weakness with that approach? Is it not at the first team level though? Do you not need to have a little bit more flexibility? Is not a problem with that team that should not be named that they've found is that they have this style of play that proceeds all the way through, but has that held them back on the pitch in terms of, we've always known what we're going to come up against when we play them. And yes, we've not had the best success, unfortunately. But other teams like Gillingham are a good example of a team that will pose a different threat, that perhaps because they are so used to playing in one set way, they can't be flexible, and then that impedes their progress.
Yeah, I agree. And let's be fair, we don't want to use that team up north as a talking point on that, because
very true.
The reason they don't do anything is because they're rubbish. But I think if you're going to be looking, our idea, from what I look at the academy should be producing players that can go into the first team. But equally, not just the first team, they should then be players that we have a sellable asset. I hate to call people assets, but they are. Players are assets. If you look on the numbers, they've got a transfer fee or a set side of it. And what you really want to be doing is creating a pathway into the first team, them excelling in the first team maybe 1, 2, 3 years. So say, for example, you're probably looking, if we use Jack Redoni as an example, you probably would say that Jack will peak probably in next season and the season after. That's when you think he would peak. And then if he peaks, he would then probably attract the attention of a championship club, premiership club. And that's when you maximise, you sell them. Because, the old Wimbledon way, we know the old Wimbledon way, every summer we lose a big player. Mm. You lose Jason Ewell one season, you lose Kenny Cunningham the season after, Chris Perry. And then the youth come in, and the youth knew how to play long football, didn't they? So I think that's what it is. I've always felt for ages that we lose these players at academy for sums of money, but they're not massive sums of money. If they're going to be playing our youth team, I want them to, in a way, give us the service in the first team, let us enjoy it, and then sell them. And that's a very cynical way of doing it. But look at the goalkeepers we've lost, like Bursic, and we've never seen them in our first team, and we've got less money for them.
You say it's a cynical way of looking at it, but we might not like it, but that is sensible. Football is a business now, and that is sensible business planning if you want to be successful. And we just have to basically get on board with it, I think.
Well, look at Ivan Toney. Look at Ivan Toney, for example, at Peterborough. Peterborough got I think reported about 5 million or something like that with a sell-on, because Darragh doesn't do anything without a sell-on. There's talk now that they could be approached at 25 million quid in the summer. And with a sell-on. But you think about it, but The reason for that is because he's done well in the Championship, and then the Premiership, of course, a lot of money, and they were spending extra money. Even though if he was a foreigner, he probably would be even more than that. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you think about the kids that come over from Europe.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You know what I mean? There's always a premium on there. But ultimately, Peterborough will have a sell-on fee. So Peterborough could end up, if they, I don't know, say for example, they've got 20%. That's not bad business, is it?
No. It's another $5 million on top for a club the size of Peterborough.
And that's what we've got to be like. You know, we've got to have, because we haven't got the money, we haven't got the budget. We all talk about budget to a blue in the face, but we can't be having two managers every season, change your style, change your players. Do you know what I mean? And that's where I think the one club comes in. We've got to have a strategy, which brings us on nicely to what Don Trust Board are doing.
Well, what are the Don Trust Board doing, Stu?
But it all makes sense, doesn't it? It all makes sense. But the thing is, it's a big job to change. I think what people shouldn't be expecting is for all of a sudden for us to just change overnight, because things are, you know, the collapse in Peterborough on Saturday, that might still happen here and there, but gradually we'll get better. Yeah,
we'll come on. We'll touch on the Don Trust Board strategy review in a little bit, governance review, whatever they're calling it, and the Peterborough game. Just the last thing about one club approach, as it were, throughout all of our teams. Does formation factor into that, or is that separate?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, because I always think formations change. So, you know, remember we used to have the Christmas tree, didn't we? Formation, then the 3-5-2 with the overlapping centre half, which Chris Wilder made at Sheffield United, and everyone copies that. Then you get a false nine, and everyone copies that. Do you know what I mean? It seems like there's a phase, isn't it? And then people go, "Oh, we never used to play that way." Well, actually, if you look in the old days, I say the old days, like an old man, but people played those systems in years. It's not new. They might call it inside left or inside right, but people. So I think you have to have flexibility. I think if you become a team that just has a formation and a style of play, then you're in a bit of trouble, because your players surely should be able to play different formations. However, play a certain way. But I don't want total football. I've never seen a women's side pass the ball so many times in my life. And I think I heard something that we had like 68% possession against Gillingham in the first half. We've never had that in the first half. So, yeah, interesting one.
Gillingham game, obviously we won in the week. Peterborough, what we've moved under Mark Robinson, we've moved to what? Is it a flat 4-4-2 or 4-2-3-1? What exactly is it?
Do you know what? It's interesting, because what I think he's done sometimes, it can be a 4-3-3 with Rodoni playing out on the right, and then Longman playing out on the left. Longman was a winger at Brighton. We sort of wanted to play him up front. It can mix a little bit. I think when Shizit plays, he has a little bit of a free roll when we have the ball, and then when we don't have the ball, he drops in. But yeah, it's definitely two defensive midfielders, but he does play with wide. So I don't think he's set on a formation. He's definitely not set on a captain on that side of it, isn't it? So he has shown flexibility in there. But I think it's just getting the best out of our players. And not to move on too quickly to Gillingham, but for argument's sake, we've gone now from having a 3-5-2 with Shane McLaughlin being the right wing back, to then going to a 4-4-2 with Luke O'Neill as the right back, to then with Darnell Johnson on the right back, and Shane McLaughlin coming in and playing centre midfield. So it's such a turnaround in such a short space of time. It's freaking.
Darnell Johnson came in, like you say, right back against Gillingham in the week. That was the change, wasn't it, from the 3-0 defeat at Peterborough? It was Ben Hennigan coming back in at centre half, Johnson moving to right back, O'Neill dropped out. Was that the main difference between the two matches, do you think? The extra defensive solidity? We have to take into account the quality of the opposition. Peterborough are top of the league. You expect them probably to get promoted this season. They should have been. Yeah. With the amount of investment that's gone into that squad over the few years, they should have done it before now. But aside from that, was our own defensive setup key behind the actual victory over Gillingham on Tuesday?
Yeah, I think so. Peterborough's tough game pitch wasn't great. Although, to be fair, I thought...
understatement, I think.
Yeah, I know. To be fair, though, Peterborough still played nice football on it, and so did we. So, I was thinking they're not going to play ball to feet, and they were, and getting, players in, and the goals they scored weren't long balls or anything. They were just slide ball forward passes. But I think defensively, I think with Hennigan makes a massive difference. He's a leader. Before he got injured, earn a season. He was captain in the making easily. And I think he can probably work alongside Will Nightingale. I think Will Nightingale struggled this season because I just don't think he's had any. I don't think he's a person that can play in a three at the back because he just wants to get the ball. The problem with Will is that he wants to attack every ball because he's a centre half. He's a defensive centre half who wants to head the ball. That's what he's good at. When you play a three, you sort of sometimes have to drop, and you don't want to get caught in. You certainly don't want to be drawn out because you leave your space in behind. So I think Will's better in a 4-4-2 or 4 at the back, and I think Ben Hennigan is a very, very good player. And I think any team that loses Ben Hennigan loses a big chunk, and this sort of forget Terrell Thomas as well. We've lost some players this season, haven't we? But the interesting thing is Shopper now is out of the lineup. If you noticed all of a sudden, do you know what I mean? Like, can't get a look in. So much has changed, but I think the defensive shape's good. I think the Gillingham, I don't think Gillingham was as poor as we. It's like, you beat somebody, you always go, oh, but I don't think they were that good. But you always get that, don't you? But they're a good side.
Oh yeah, that's a good victory.
They're a good side. Do you know what I mean? I saw them against Bristol Rovers on Saturday. I don't understand Bristol Rovers, by the way. The players they've got. Why did they slaughter us and then do nothing for the rest of the season?
I can't work them out at all, to be honest.
They've got good players.
Yeah, they've got very good players. Who's the striker? Who's the centre forward that tore us apart? Who was it? I forgot his name.
John, it's the double-barreled name, isn't it?
I'm going to Google it to remember.
They got Agard as well. Is it Agard? I think it's Agard. One who's. But John, the players they've got in that team, I don't get it. I don't get why they're struggling. And they've also got a third manager for the season now, haven't they? In Joe Barton. What a mix that is! Like Joe.
Well,
Joe Barton going down to the what do they call them down there? The gasites? I don't know what they call
the gas heads.
Gasite. Where do I get gasites from?
No idea. Gas heads.
But you know what's interesting, actually? Like, Joe Barton's on Twitter, isn't he? Like, there's not many managers on Twitter. And he interacts. I think I do follow him, or someone follows him and they retweet it. But he's really already got involved in the sort of the club and the fans. And interesting, I think Joe Barton needs money, and that Bristol Rovers have money. He does, Joe Barton can go to somewhere where he's really got managed, and Bristol Rovers got money. They just don't seem to. Well, I don't know what's going on down here. If they get relegated, that's criminal.
It is. It's Brandon Hanlon was the player I was thinking about, who took us part earlier in the season. But we were, as we were saying, we got onto them because of Gillingham. Gillingham a good side, defensive solidity, going with the back four, talking about leaders, and perhaps him being a captain, Hennigan. But captaincy's gone to Woodyard, hasn't it, in this past week? It's in midfield. How do you think he's been as a captain?
Do you know what? I think we've chatted about Woodyard. I know he's had his critics, but you can see the qualities he has. He all of a sudden looks a different player. So on not so much the Peterborough game, but the Gillingham game, really noticed the change of passing. And all of a sudden, Woodyard was getting the ball, passing off, going supporting, second balls. I've never seen us win so many second balls. If we talk about the beginning of the season, how many second balls did we win?
No.
We got so frustrated. Whereas I think where we're pressing differently and pressing in groups, it sort of means where the ball is, where the ball drops, we have a lot more press around it. So it feels like we have a lot more players around the ball because of how we're doing it. So the second ball, I think Woodyard's been really good. I like him a lot. I think he's not been as effective in what he was playing. And I think Robbo's finding a way of getting out. He's obviously a ball playing. You don't go to Peterborough. Peterborough play lovely football, Peterborough don't play long ball. So he was at Peterborough for a reason. So I like it. But do you know what? There's other captains. So like we've got Hennigan, Will Nightingale, Terrell Thomas comes in, Joe Piggott, who's probably not a captain. But what I mean by that is you've got a lot of ex-captains or former captains at other clubs in there. So.
And a midfielder you've touched on and spoken about already, but what we haven't spoken about is his match-winning performance on Tuesday, and that is Jack Redoni. The goal coming very, very late shows the advantage, as you say. We seem to be passing the ball more and more than at any point during the season. But on Tuesday, what it seemed to be our issue was, as seems to be a big problem we've had down the years, is an unwillingness to actually have a go, just have a shot. Redoni does that, 20 yards, it flies in. Is that a goal that... I don't think it's a goal he scores in the first minute. And what I mean by this is do we get a little bit of advantage because it's so late in the game? Is their defender not tight enough? Is he not quick enough to make a block? Is their goalkeeper a little bit tired and that's why he's a little bit weak-handed or weak-wristed when the shot comes in? Is that fair?
John, I didn't think it was an error by the keeper. I'll be honest with you. I've looked at it a couple of times, and the power he generates from it, he doesn't have much of a backlift. The power he generates is what beats the keeper. It's the power that does him. I know Steve Evans said he didn't want to blame the keeper, but mentioned it twice in his post-match. So take it out what you need to.
Is he the former Brentford keeper?
Not sure. I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Was it Bonner? I'm going to Google this as well.
But I didn't think it's. But you know what? I think you're right. I think it does happen in the early stages. I think the reason is because they were wary of him, because the left back, I can't remember his name now, but whenever Jack Rodoni in the first half got the ball, their left back was literally retreating into the area. He couldn't drop off enough. And I think in the end, they were worried about that he could go past them. And if I'm being honest with you, it's probably him and Chislett are probably the only players in the team that we've got that can probably beat a player and go past them with that. But I think you're right. I think it happens late because they just didn't want to get it happening. They were worried about it was going to draw a foul, and in the end he shifts it. And it's a great strike. It's a great strike. It's such a shame though when it goes in. Can you imagine if fans are in behind that?
Oh yeah, the place goes mad.
Like, I went mad indoors and got slapped by the missus because she said, "Why have you got to celebrate so loudly?" And I went, "We scored a goal. We don't really score many goals."
Last minute winner. Yeah.
She goes, "You don't score goals." I went, "I know we did. That's why I celebrated." So yeah, I sort of, it's a cracking goal, and he's getting more and more confident. If you look at his performances now, he is very quickly becoming a key person in that team.
Yeah, no doubt.
Very, very quickly. And what I mean, if you look back at some of the games early in the season, he was good. I think now he's taking the game by the scruff of the neck. He wants to dictate it. He wants the ball. The team want him on the ball. I think that's the difference. My only thing is I don't really like him being out wide so much because I don't want him. I think there was a couple of occasions where him and Donald Johnson were in the same area, and I was like, get out of the area. You know what I mean? Like, and when he finally cut in, that's when he got the joy. So I don't know if I want him out wide. I think he can be more influential. But I think he don't want to be too good because he's going to get targeted. But I think we've got him on a contract all the way.
Yeah, I mean, he will get targeted though, naturally. He's just got so much outstanding natural ability. Yeah. He's just a sort of player that he excites crowds. He's the player that you want to see get on the ball, especially in that role, like you say, where he might be best just behind the front two, whatever, making things happen.
Yeah.
Very, very promising talent that he is. And it was a great strike. You talk about him being important. I think you look at our last two wins, Wigan and Gillingham, the winner against Gillingham, and actually the penalty against Wigan all comes from his smart thinking on the byline to get the ball back into play. So
yeah, the back heel was ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, you wouldn't even think to attempt it.
Yeah, and we interviewed even Chislett, and I was saying, were you expecting that? Because if you look at it, Jack Rodoni does the ridiculous back flick, and even Chislett's on his toes, and he's beat the keeper. It's, if you look at it from a defensive point of view, you'd be going, "Come on, keeper, what have you done?" But actually, the whole side of that has put him in that position. But you're right, I like him a lot. It's weird when he got interviewed after the game, and he still was like he's still a kid.
He looks so young. It's ridiculous.
Do you get what I mean? And then
I know.
If you compare it and go, he's so young, but actually he's so important for the team. It's that really weird sort of, I wouldn't say we're relying on him, but he is very quickly becoming our go-to player.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Somebody else that, not somebody, well, another young player, I think is the link I was trying to make there, who's unfortunate against Peterborough was Shane Harrison. Picked up an injury, but not as bad as first feared, a sprayed ankle. So hopefully be back soon. But we see Ollie Palmer is back in training, which we need because we are still just desperately short of strikers. I think we had 5 fullbacks on the bench in the week. But we
really?
Wish Shane, yeah, I know.
I didn't look at that.
So, but we wish Shane a quick recovery and getting back soon, hopefully, because we need bodies basically. We can't keep running at such a small squad, especially in the forward areas. So, yeah, there we go. Are we blaming their pitch for that, by the way, or is that just a freak accident?
I've looked at it a couple of times. It's very difficult to see because he doesn't get when he shifts the ball off. Was it Chislett he shifted the ball off to, or
yeah? No, wasn't it Longman who had the shot in the end?
Yeah.
I can't
When
remember.
you look at it, I thought, did he get taken out when he released the ball? He didn't. It was when he was just jogging. It looked like he was jogging into the area. Whether I don't think someone's deliberately done him, but it looks really freaky of how it is. Thankfully, it's just bruising for what it looks like on that side. But you're right. I think the frustration is that we finally had a player with a bit of pace. For the 5 minutes we saw of him, you could think, yeah, he's a bit direct, he's pacey. And the thing I worry about the way we play is that we haven't got anything really to turn them around. So if you look at Gillingham on Tuesday, in the end they dropped a little bit because they sort of thought, well, they're not going to get behind us. We can, do you know what I mean? Like, we can just sit back and let them have the ball, and we need to. Ollie Palmer isn't that either. Ollie Palmer isn't going in behind, but what Ollie Palmer will do will occupy centre halves. But yeah, you're right. I didn't realise we had three. I didn't realise we had 5 fullbacks on the bench. And then you think about it, you got Jakob Oksana on there as well, which I don't understand. That I do not understand that situation with Jacko.
What is the situation with Jacko? Just
he's not playing.
Not getting games. I know, but like, he's low knee, right?
Yeah, he is. But when you think about it, technically, George Dobson is the one that's probably replacing him in that role. Is they're doing 2 things during the season, and Jacko was excellent. Brentford B Player of the Year last year. I just can't understand how he has dropped down so much. But that might be a testament to the 2 players that have got the jerseys at the moment. But it's again another defensive player on the bench.
Last thing I'll say about the Gillingham game is I noted on during the game in the week on Twitter, I feel sorry for the Gillingham Twitter match updater with Cundy and Tucker in the squad, because you are a typo away from losing your job. So shout out to the Gillingham Twitter man or woman, Gillingham person, Twitter person.
They've got to deal with Steve Evans and Rayner as well. Like, how difficult must that be? Do you know what I mean? You probably want to just say to them, just shut the Yeah,
I don't envy having to deal with that man, but Gillingham seems a good fit for him, which might be unfair of me, but hey, anyway. The win took us to 20th in the table. We were helped out. Wigan got a injury time, 95th minute winner away at Gillingham, which means that away at Bristol Rovers, which meant the Bristol Rovers dropped into the bottom 4. We climbed out of it, but 3 points separating the bottom 7 as it stands. So it's all very tight. There's going to be twists and turns. You don't want to get too carried away with a win. You don't want to get too depressed with a defeat at the moment, because it's so tight and it's going to change every single week. But it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out with so many teams down there in the mix. I mean, we're 3 points off the bottom. That just shows you a defeat could have gone all manner of things, and it's anyway.
Yeah, and to be fair, in March we've got 5 home games, I think out of 7,
right.
And a lot of them are teams around us. You've got Burton, Wigan, Northampton,
Cobblers
to come to us, who are hitting form. I say form; they've got a couple of decent results.
They're picking up. Yeah,
they're having that bounce, aren't they? So it's in our hands. They've got to come to our place, which is nice. Would be better if we were there, of course, because we could then be that extra. I'm not going to say the extra man, because I don't like that, but that extra support.
We could be the 12th man potentially, possibly. But you're right. I mean, you look at March and Burton at home, Wigan at home, Rochdale at home, Northampton at home, Bristol Rovers away. Huge month. If the season was to finish now and be curtailed like it was last season and judged on points per game, we would stay up, because we've averaged a point per game where all the other teams around us haven't. So that's because they've played more games. So that's very handy for us. We don't want that to happen, though, of course.
No.
Next up, Hull City, the team I always struggle to say the word Hull. It sounds like I'm saying Hull, so I have to pronounce it very deliberately. They're not in great form. They're 3rd, but they've only got 1 win in their last 6, 5 points from their last 18, and they have played more games than anyone in League One. So although it looks like a tricky fixture, it might not be the worst time to play them, especially as they've failed to score in 4 of their last 6 games, despite scoring 8 in their other 2 games, in a 3-3 draw with Doncaster and a 5-0 win against Wigan, of all teams. Tough team. They got goals. Manny Wilkes, Josh McGuinness. We know about them. Experienced League One players. who score goals. Grant McCann, we've come up against so many times in the past. We're at home to them, and our record at home to Grant McCann teams is actually pretty good with his time in Peterborough and Doncaster, so that's something to look forward to. A prediction, Stu, what do you think?
I think it'll be a one goal either way. They're a very good set piece team. Do you know what? I think we're on a roll. I think we've got a chance of getting back to back. Bearing in mind that Burton beat them recently at home, so they are beatable. Like you say, their form. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win.
I want to beat Hull because I've never been to their stadium, actually, so I need to tick that one off the list. But their fans, I always remember when they got promoted to the Premier League. They have a player called Giovanni, maybe. And they started really, really well. And they won. They beat a lot of big teams. And they won at Arsenal. And there's this clip I saw of their fans singing behind the goal, singing, "You're being mauled by the Tigers." And I thought, no, you not only deserve to get relegated, you deserve to go out of business for that. So that is officially the worst song, along with "Allay, Allay, Allay," the worst songs in football. So, Hull, I hope we stuff you.
Well, no one's singing it more anyway. No one's singing it more anyway. This is all recorded stuff, isn't it?
Oh, don't even get me started on the piped in crowd noise. I can't deal with it.
What did I see the other day that was recorded? Oh, that's it. Dancing on Ice or something like that.
Oh, don't tell me.
Not that I was watching it.
Of course.
But there was music. There was like filtered crowds in there. I'm like, come on, like that's ridiculous. It just feels like anyways. Joel, one thing that I'm going to never miss, and I think I actually did say this the other day, ages ago. We said about what we would take from. We were talking about what would we keep from the lockdown situation, and I actually did say potentially like some crowd noise because some teams don't have any atmosphere. Arsenal, Watford,
Watford, yeah.
But I've changed my mind. Just one thing that I cannot wait to see is no feeding noise in and just spontaneous. What's the word? Spontaneous
reactions.
Yeah, because at the moment they're scoring a goal and it's like 2-second delay.
Yeah,
like that's pathetic, isn't it? So yeah. That's my two bob.
So the one thing you cannot wait to see is no noise.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I just think it's banned, and it's just
on the corner. There's I have to say this, G, but on the corner there's a school for the deaf, and we're not sure if that means there will be noise or won't be noise. But anyway, sorry, carry on.
But you know what I was saying today, and I don't know how true it's going to be, but potentially we could have the Euro 2021s.
Yeah, I saw this
in this country. Now, the last time we had Euros was 1996, and how like. The thing you think about at the moment, right, I think there's going to be a massive party when there have been already, but it's lockdown for you. But I think it's going to be a massive summer. I think if we can get out of this lockdown in the summer, I can just see it being one big piss up, like
massively.
But also, can you imagine the Euros in in England, full games? I just think I think it'd be great. And I'm not. International football, you and I used to go quite a lot, didn't we? I've got a bit, international football for me has been a bit, but I think this will be great if it's in, it looks like it will be because we've got the most vaccines.
It's because we're the best country in the world, that's why, but we'll leave that one there. Right, Hull City, I did actually ask you, I was going to round up some things from Twitter in the week, actually. I forgot to, say with the Gillingham game, we did our three word reports. We brought those back for the Gillingham game. So I am just going to get some of these up, which would help if I pressed the right button. Here we go. 3 word reports from the winner of Gillingham. Let's run through some of these. Jacqueline Easy at Frida1929 says feeling more positive. Alan Phillips at Alan PHI 546547. He's got one of those Twitter handles. Carries on forever. He says monkey off back. Ratty at Ratty75. Keep this up. John Manderson at John_M55. Missed it moving. John's moving. Where are you moving to, John? Let us know. Tell us where you've moved to and where you've moved from. The Jumble 08 says shape, determination and togetherness. Matthew Cooper at Matt Cooper says extend Jack's contract. So yes, thank you very much for everyone that replied to those, and thank you for your 3 word reports. We'll do those again at some point in the future. The other thing I wanted to round up from Twitter, Stu, was a couple of weeks ago, didn't get a chance last week, we were interviewing Mark Robinson. We were talking about salary caps. And I put a poll on Twitter about salary caps. and whether people are in favour of them. I gave 3 options: yes, in favour of them by percentage of turnover, yes, in favour of them by a set amount, or just no, they're not needed. 45% said, or 46% said yes by percentage of turnover, but 16% said no, they weren't needed, and the remainder saying a set amount for all. A couple of comments on these. Tommy at Womble Tom, percentage of turnover, but with extreme restrictions on what classes turnovers and severe ramifications, i.e. points deductions. Should clubs break those rules? Agree with that completely. I think extreme restrictions is one class on turnover, definitely, to avoid the, like we talked in the podcast, to avoid the owners just ploughing in more and more money. And Phil Day at Happy Plum says, no caps needed. You get into financial difficulties, you get relegated, set a realistic budget and stick to it. And it's like I said, Stu, it's one of those where you think personal responsibility of the clubs, really, shouldn't they? They should be able to manage their own finances, really, in an ideal world.
Yeah,
caps make it fairer.
I think that's an ideal world, but you've only got to look at people that have bought Bury and Wigan and Charlton to see that, they can spend money. I suppose it all goes back, I don't want too long on this one, but it basically goes back to the owner. So when the owner comes in, it's about the EFL making sure that the owner's got the money, not. So I think it's the checks that need to be sorted out. I like the turnover idea, but again, we can't have where Derby and etc. was setting the ground. Getting that money in and counting out as revenue, can't have that. And the penalties I agree, Sheffield Wednesday should have got more than the 6 points. However, they could, look at this season, Sheffield Wednesday could be coming down to Plough Lane next year, the way they go.
I'd love to play Sheffield Wednesday on a Wednesday. Although I think the last time we played on a Wednesday was that, I can't remember if it was a Tuesday or a Wednesday, that midweek game at Selhurst when we got relegated, that awful game. I think it might have been a Tuesday.
Is that when they used to wear that, was it like a brown and white?
White and like a hooped shirt with like 3,
kit.
Awful, I know.
Horrible kit. And there's some horrible kits around, to be fair, at the moment. Some real horrible kits. Not us, of course.
No. Clip on the internet the other day of us losing 3-0 to Manchester United in the Cup, and they were in their green and gold shirt, which I really used to like. But they had that for like 3 or 4 seasons as a third kit back in the day before you had a new one every couple of years. But anyway, I'm not going to get into the...
Vinnie Jones taking out Cantona and also took out Roy Keane as well, literally just bounced off him.
Yeah.
There's days when you could tackle like that. Nowadays, that would give you a 10-match ban now, what Vinnie done on.
So much more fun in those days.
And
the great thing is... No, because Cantona just stood up and went, what? And just carried on. If that happens today, the Cantona in that situation, if that happens today, is rolling on the floor for 10 minutes. Cantona's like, no, not even that, getting up. Anyway. Jersey also says on the salary cap thing, based on gate receipts, absolutely. Jamie Taylor at Jamie PTEE simply says, bag first. Correct. In all situations. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Stu, very quickly before we sign off, you mentioned Don's Trust governance review. We won't go into it in detail now, but people can go onto the Don's Trust website, thedonstrust.org, and read the latest on what's happening there. I think the whole club's basically under review, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of work going on. You've got different sections of football, Trevor Williams, Ethos under Mark Jones. That's sponsorship, but not sponsorship, fundraising, that sort of side of it. That's top level, and it drills down underneath that. A lot of work going on behind the scenes. We need it. It's just a hell of a lot of work for people. So, it's good stuff at the moment.
Cool. That is it for us for this week. We're going to sign off. Stu, is there anything else you wanted to add, or are we good?
No, I'm looking forward to Saturday. I'm really looking forward to games at the moment. I'm quite positive. Total football. Never seen a Wimbledon team pass so much. It's unreal.
And hopefully shoot a bit more and score some more goals. That would be nice. But hey, things seem to be a little bit more optimistic around the place at the moment, which is nice. That's it. Thank you very much for joining us. However you have done so. I feel like I should say something more, but all we've got to do really is just do the sign off. I can't think if there's anything else. I feel like I'm missing something, but I can't think what it is. I don't know. 3 points.
That's what we need. 3 points. Back-to-back wins.
Oh, yeah, that would be good, actually, because we've not done that. It's a lot of 1-0 wins this season, haven't it? Have all our wins been 1-0? No, we won 2-1 against Peterborough in the first Plough Lane game.
Yeah.
That was it. All the rest of them 1-0.
Before Jack Rodoni's winner, I was actually wondering if we had a 0-0 draw this season.
Barrow in the cup, that's it.
That don't count, does it?
No. They're in the bottom 2 in League 2, I noticed the other day. Anyway.
Barrow, very quickly, can I just say very quickly, Barrow have got absolutely unreal. They furloughed 9 players who weren't going to play, then bought 9 players in the transfer window, then sacked their second manager after the window shut.
What? That's a joke.
That's a sign of panic.
That is, well...
It's not how the Furno's system should have been used.
I'm going to need some time to process that one.
Have a look. It's an unreal situation.
Shame on Barrow. Oh, well. Anyway, right. That is it. So thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for listening. We will speak to you again next Friday. Alexa Bliss. Bag first, milk last. See you later.